So, devotees, here we are in this rather astounding place. But anyway, I was meant to be here according to the official schedule yesterday. If any of you came and found that I wasn't here, I apologize. I'm going through the later parts of a bit of a health event, you could say. But anyway, we have an hour, and I don't have any instruments, so I'll just start with our subject matter, which is lessons from the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Let me begin by offering some prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastichade Shatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyas cha kripas sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. My respects to all of you devotees and to Lord Nityananda and to Srila Prabhupada, of course. You know, it is a big subject. It is not a small subject. It's a big subject, and it's truly not possible to cover the entire subject in 1 hour. So, but you know, as far as we get, it'll all be basically good. And those of you who need, you're broadcasting, yeah? And people need a device, is it? Okay. Anyway, you can sort that out. I'll leave it in your hands. But let us just go straight into it as much as we're able. A place to start. Well, a good place to start is to consider, first of all, who is Lord Nityananda, and a short answer to that is that he is Lord Balaram, appearing in the pastimes instead of Lord Krishna as such, but appearing in the pastimes of Lord Krishna as Lord Chaitanya. Of course, you all know that very, very well. So, but, you know, in terms of background and getting a bit of a perspective on Lord Nityananda, so to speak, a good place to start is with Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram is Lord Krishna's first expansion, and he is Krishna, essentially Krishna, you could say, just in a different color. I'm based in South Africa. There we have a whole history of racism. Oh, Krishna, what a shame. So, you know, this is like the first color differentiation between people, you could say, between Krishna and Lord Balaram. Lord Krishna is black or blackish blue, and Lord Balaram is white. Not white like me. I'm not exactly white, but white like Prabhus, their dhotis and kurtas. It's like real white. Yes, so you can say they're the same person. It's not wrong to say they're the same person, but still they have different personalities and different characters, and therefore they have different activities, and it's all, it's a Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva, a very special manifestation of Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. And where I'd like to begin is drawing out a very interesting point. I find it very interesting. This point comes from Srila Jiva Goswami, and he says that if you ask Krishna, who is God, Krishna, with his pointing finger, says, me. Not me, but me, Krishna. Yeah. Krishna says, me. But if you ask Lord Balaram, who's God, Lord Balaram, what does Lord Balaram say? He says, well, he doesn't say me. He doesn't say me. He has every right to say me. And yeah, he's got every right to say that. But if you ask Lord Balaram, who is God, he says Krishna. Here we see a major, very significant difference or point in terms of nature, that Lord Balaram, he's the first expansion. You cannot get any closer without actually being Krishna himself. You can't get any closer. But see the difference in mood. Actually, it's discussed, Srila Prabhupada discusses this point also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, if I remember correctly, in the later part of chapter 5, which is about Lord Nityananda. So yeah, if you ask Lord Balaram, who's God? Then Lord Balaram says, Krishna. And if you ask Lord Balaram, well, who are you then? Lord Balaram says, I am a devotee of Krishna. That's how he sees himself. That's how he lives. That's his orientation, his perspective on himself, and that's like the foundation of his life, that he is a devotee of Lord Krishna, even though, in another sense, you can hardly say that there's a difference. So, there are all sorts of stories. There's a Prabhupada story with, who was it? Madhudvisa Prabhu and Mother Yamuna, which I will not get into. If I'm up to it, we may continue tomorrow. Anyway, let me not say anything like that. So this is Lord Balaram. And Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram. And Lord Balaram is Lord Nityananda. You can't really exactly place one before the other. So, yeah, and to get this, Srila Jiva Goswami, he gives very interesting description of Lord Balaram's service to Lord Krishna, that Lord Balaram, first of all, he, at least you can say he underpins the spiritual world. I mean Goloka Vrindavan, first of all. And even he manifests it, or it's resting on him. It's, again, Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva, you can't really separate Goloka from him. And particularly in the sense that Goloka is a place for Krishna's enjoyment, and Lord Balaram is there for Krishna's enjoyment. So therefore Srila Jiva Goswami gives a very interesting description of how Lord Balaram manifests himself in Goloka. He points out, I haven't got the whole list here. It's a whole list of different ways Lord Balaram manifests himself in service to Krishna in Goloka. But he says that Lord Balaram is Lord Krishna's house or palace, residence. He says Lord Balaram is Lord Krishna's furniture, his chair and whatever else, cushions and things he may use. Lord Balaram is Lord Krishna's clothes. Lord Balaram is Lord Krishna's shoes. Lord Balaram is Lord Krishna's jewelry and ornaments. And it doesn't end there either. It goes on. He's so many things, even down to, like, he is Lord Krishna's umbrella, is a form of Lord Balaram. Why? Because he's a devotee. And he wants to serve Krishna in just whatever way and any way and every way possible, because that's who he is and that's what he is. So he's Lord Krishna's shoes, clothes, ornaments, crowns, and all other personal paraphernalias like that. And if you're a pujari, it's an interesting thing to think about when you're worshipping the deities, particularly if it's Radha and Krishna, you're dressing Krishna with different clothes, and they're all forms of Lord Balaram. It's really quite amazing. And like I said, there's a number of other examples, but let me give you one which I find very, very just interesting and wonderful, is that you may be, for me, I'm sure so many of you are familiar with a picture, quite popular picture of Lord Krishna, baby Krishna, lying down. Baby Krishna is on a banyan leaf or some sort of big leaf, and he is floating, and he's just very small, and while he's floating, he is sucking one of his big toes. And a devotee, this is coming from Srila Jiva Goswami, I think it's Bhakti Sandarbha. He says that one devotee happened along there, and he asked Krishna, "Why, my Lord, why are you sucking your toe?" And Krishna answered, "Because I've heard so many devotees say my lotus feet are very sweet, and I wanted to find out what they're like for myself. And I can report that my lotus feet are very sweet." And so Lord Krishna floated away because he was on some water somehow. Floated away on the leaf, continuing to suck his toe. And Jiva Goswami makes the point that leaf is Lord Balaram. That leaf is Lord Balaram. And then, further, he is the support of Vaikuntha. Without him, what would happen to Vaikuntha, who knows? But from him, from Balaram comes Sankarshan in Goloka, then Mahasankarshan in Vaikuntha, and then the other members of the quadruple expansions. But then from that Mahasankarshan in Vaikuntha comes Mahavishnu. And from Mahavishnu comes the material world. And then from Mahavishnu comes Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then comes Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And even Balaram manifests himself in order to serve Krishna. He manifests himself in the rasas. He himself is in both parental and Sakya ras. In the conjugal rasa, he's Ananga Manjari, Srimati Radharani's little sister, who's extremely special person. And Srila Jiva Goswami, after going through all these things that Balaram does to please and serve Krishna, he says, there's virtually nothing that Lord Balaram does not do for Lord Krishna. And Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram. So that is the fundamental mood of Lord Nityananda. And when we consider Lord Nityananda, and there are a number of pastimes of Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are some. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, there are more. But it's something we need to bear in mind when we really try and appreciate who is Lord Nityananda and how is he working and what is he doing. So to expand further on the point, I want to introduce something many of you may well be well aware of, some of you might not, but that in Ram Leela, Lord Balaram is Lakshman, and Lakshman is the younger brother. And, we don't have time to go through so many details, but there's a sequence of verses. It's in Adi Leela chapter 5, the chapter about Lord Nityananda, which talks about how it is that Lord Lakshman is the younger brother, but Lord Balaram and Lord Nityananda, they are the older brothers. Yeah. And he makes, anyway, I could read a couple of verses here. Let me read a couple of verses. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 5, first of all, verse 149. Nityananda Swarupa Purave Haya Lakshmana Lagu Brata Hayakare Ramira Sevan. Lord Nityananda Swarup formerly appeared as Lakshman and served Lord Ramachandra as his younger brother. Ramira Charitra Sabha Dukhara Karan, Swatantra Lilaya Dukha Sahena Lakshman. The activities of Lord Ram were full of suffering, but Lakshman of his own accord tolerated that suffering. Nisheda karite nare yate chotabai maunadari rahe Lakshman mane dukapai. As a younger brother, Chotabai, as a younger brother, he could not stop Lord Ram from his resolution, and so he remained silent, although unhappy in his mind. Krishna avatari jeshta hailasevar karan, Krishna ke karaila nana sukha asvadan. When Lord Krishna appeared, he, Lakshman, became his elder brother, Balaram, to serve him to his heart's content and make him enjoy all sorts of happiness. Sri Chaitanya, say Krishna, Nityananda, Ram, Nityananda Purnakare, Chaitanyera Kam. Lord Chaitanya is the same Lord Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram. Lord Nityananda fulfills all of Lord Chaitanya's desires. So there's a whole thing we can get into here, but just to mention the basic idea, Lakshman, who is Balaram, who is Nityananda, he was very frustrated because, with respect, and with great respect actually, but it is mentioned here, he didn't agree with a number of decisions that Lord Ram made. First one was to go chasing the deer, Marichi, right? Marichi. Lakshman said, no, don't do that. It's some mystical trick. And in the end, what he said was borne out, and Sita was kidnapped. It's all Leela. It's not like something went wrong and it's just a disaster. But, on another level it is also. It really is. And so Lord Ram was chastising him. Why didn't you stay with Sita? I told you to stay. And Lakshman didn't say anything, but he just thought, I told you not to go. If you had listened to me, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. But he couldn't say anything. Mauna Dari, he just had to remain quiet. But he thought, I think it would be good if in our next time together, I think I should be the older brother. So the next thing that happened was that Ram wanted Sita to walk through fire after Ravan was killed and all that. And Ram was saying, yes, she must prove her purity and, like that. And Lakshman said, no one's going to doubt her purity. There's no need for her to walk through fire. And he said, and who's going to build such a fire for Sita to walk through? No one's going to build such a fire. And Lord Ram said, Lakshman, someone is going to build that fire. You are, younger brother. And his younger brother, he couldn't say anything. And basically it was the same idea when Sita was banished. And by that time, that was third time when he had to leave her in the forest. And he told Ram, no one's going to just leave her in the forest. And Ram said, Lakshman, you're going to leave her. And then he decided, that's it, enough. Next time, I am going to be the older brother. And he was, as Lord Balaram. And he looked after Krishna in a number of very awkward situations and difficult situations. The Kaliya Damana Leela. Lord Balaram intervened in the whole situation. And Lord Nityananda had the same mood. Not as sort of completely explicit and like every day, but there are pastimes like in Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you're familiar with the description of Lord Chaitanya's participation in the Rath Yatra in Madhya Leela in chapter 13, then Lord Chaitanya goes into a very extreme state of ecstasy, and eventually he crashes to the ground, and people think he may have broken bones. But then Lord Chaitanya got up and just carried on in his ecstatic way. And if you remember, you would know Lord Nityananda was running behind him with his arms out, holding his arms out, just in case. Because that's his mood. That's his mood. To serve and facilitate and assist Lord Chaitanya. So that's, you could say, by way of introduction. I wanted to go on into a subject matter which is very interesting, and it's important, and it's basically surrounding the idea that Lord Nityananda is the older brother, and as the elder, those of you who are from Hindu backgrounds, you would know that I think even today, in the absence of the father, the older brother becomes like the head of the family, and like that, yeah. So there's a pastime, it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, just referred to briefly, but it's described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Kanda, chapter 20, in which Murari Gupta, very close associate of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Murari Gupta arrives on the scene somewhere, may well have been at Srivas Thakur's house, but he arrives there, and there's Lord Chaitanya, there's Lord Nityananda, and he goes to Lord Chaitanya and offers obeisances. And then he goes to Lord Nityananda and offers him obeisances. And Lord Chaitanya pulls him aside. And let me just read the exchange. Lord Chaitanya says, what does he say? You have a misconception regarding Baladev's senior position and my own junior position, especially since you're a devotee of Sri Balaram. You're supposed to teach those who do not know these things So why are you transgressing such principles by your own behavior? And Murari says, oh Lord, how would I know? And Lord Chaitanya says, all right, go home for now. I'll speak to you tomorrow and you'll understand everything. So Murari Gupta went home and took rest that evening. In a dream, he saw Nityananda as the most exalted of all pure devotees, dressed as a wrestler, and coming towards him. And he saw a great serpent spreading its hoods over the head of Nityananda, who held a plow and a club in his hands. He saw that Nityananda looked just like Halada, and he saw Vishvamba, Lord Chaitanya, fanning him from behind. Lord Chaitanya smiled and spoke to him in the dream. Have you now understood, Murari? You should consider me junior. The two lords smiled as they looked at Murari in the dream. After instructing Murari, the two brothers disappeared. On awakening, Murari began to cry. He sighed deeply again and again and called out, Nityananda, Nityananda. His most chaste wife became frightened and called out, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So then Murari went to see the Lord, and of course what he did. First of all, well, there was Lord Chaitanya with Lord Nityananda on his right, and Murari first offered obeisances at the lotus feet of Nityananda, and then offered obeisances at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya smiled and said, Murari, why did you do this? And Murari replied, my Lord, I have acted according to your instruction. And Lord Chaitanya said, O Murari, you are very dear to me. Therefore I have informed you of this confidential truth. So where am I going with this, devotees? I'll tell you where I'm going. It's a very important and interesting place. Is that Lord Nityananda and Srimati Radharani are considered the original gurus. Yes, both of them, the original gurus. What I want to do now, if you'll bear with me, is read from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, an essay of his or some writing of his in which he discusses this. So he says, the Guru is the embodiment of the manifestation of the divinity to the pure receptive spiritual essence of the disciple. Yeah, in other words, the spiritual master means the divinity is manifesting to the heart, the spiritual, receptive spiritual essence of the disciple. Nityananda is the primary manifestive constituent of the divinity. Nityananda alone possesses the distinctive function of the Guru. In Nityananda, the function is embodied. Nityananda is the servant God. He serves Sri Gaurasunda by the distinctive method of reverential servitude. He is identical with Sri Balaram of Krishna Leela. Sri Balaram is not the chum of Krishna, but his respected elder brother. It is an intimate relationship characterized by becoming respectful on one side and of respectful deference or giving mercy on the other side. Individual souls are under the direction of Nityananda. They receive their service to Sri Gaurasunda and to Krishna from Nityananda's hands. Nityananda is not a jiva. He is divinity. He is the ultimate source of the jiva. No jiva can be the medium of the service of the Absolute to another jiva. The Absolute alone may communicate his service to separable constituents of himself. This is the real nature of the function of the Guru. In other words, the spiritual master acting as the manifestation of the Supreme Lord and giving the mercy of the Supreme Lord to the disciples, to the devotees, and to people, distributing it. But then, I don't know how familiar any or many of you are with this piece. It goes on a bit, just a bit. Listen to this. But Nityananda does not directly instruct in the confidential service of Krishna. Srimati Radhika is the guru of the inner circle of the servants of Krishna. Srimati Radhika, however, accepts as servants only those souls who are specially favored by Nityananda and are deemed by him to be fit for her service. There is therefore a most intimate relationship between the function of Nityananda and that of Srimati Radhika. Interesting. It really is. That's amazing. You know, it's something I've heard about. I've heard just sort of mentioned, but the intricacies of it I was not familiar with until I came across this bit some time ago. So I want to now go on to a little different aspect of things. So, question, what is the symptom of a person, a devotee, having received the mercy of Lord Nityananda? Let me read from Srila Prabhupada, his commentary on the song Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dayakara More. So what is the symptom of a person who has achieved the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda? Narottam Das Thakur says that one who has actually received the causeless mercy of Nityananda, he has no more any material desire. That is the symptom. Ar kabe nitai chand, karuna karibe, samsara vasana mora, kabe tucha habe. Prabhupada continues, samsara vasana means desire for material enjoyment. When will it become very insignificant? Kabe tucha. Tucha basically means very insignificant. I mean, to the point of being negligible. Not just a little, but, I mean, something may be there, but you just don't even need to note it. Yeah. So, now that, I'm sure we've all sung that song many times. But some years ago, it was actually, about 30 years ago, I was in a seminar. I was in the VIHE, actually, taking a seminar on something. And the subject came up of what is the symptom of someone who has really received the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and it is samsara vasana mora kabe tucha habe. And the description giving there's a kind of elaborate description based on an understanding, you could say, of the two words samsara vasana. Now, for those of you, Haribol, Hare Krishna. I'm sure a few Shastris here and knowledgeable people and Raj here, Haribol. And, okay. What happened actually? Something. Anyway, just Lord Nityananda testing us. See if we lose it a bit. Usually a good whack takes care of it. So this term samsara vasana, Prabhupada, well, here he has translated it, that he has no more any material desire. And there are a few places, there's a number of places where Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse from that famous song. There's a number of places. What is it? Ar kabe nitai chandir. Karuna hoibe. Kabe, win. Ar kabe. So samsara vasana, in a general sense, and Prabhupada sometimes kind of elaborates on it in this sense. In a general sense, you can take samsara vasana to mean just, material desire. Who has never had a material desire in this lifetime? Okay, same difference. Yeah, same difference. So just a general material desire, as doubtless we've all experienced too much already. So, but then the particular point is made there that this term samsara vasana, not necessarily absolutely just like every time this is how it must be taken, but it can be taken and seen sometimes from this perspective that it means it's referring to a very fundamental, foundational state of material desire. By that I mean like the propensity for material desires, independent of body, independent of species. Here we are, we're in human species, and we have our material desires, have or have had or still have, or to whatever degree, in human ways. But then there's all the other species. There's the dogs and cats and all these other living entities who have the same types of material desires in their ways, in their doggish ways, or etc., etc. right, and we have, the same types of desires human beings do in our human types of ways. But the point in this regard is that samsara vasana can be taken to mean, and can be taken to mean that fundamental propensity that whatever species you're in, you're going to have that sort of desire, attraction to the opposite sex, attraction for whatever. You get the idea. So in that sense, it's not just that in this lifetime we become free of a certain type of desire, which is a lot better than not becoming free. But it's not just in the human state. It's referring to the general condition of material existence, of having these types of desires in whatever species you're in. Like, I'm based in Africa, and in Africa we have rhinoceroses. You have here in India a bit. Do you have hippopotamuses? We have hippopotamuses. So, the female hippopotamus looks at the male hippopotamus and feels, just like some young woman looking at some handsome young man. The same thing, but it's hippopotamus version. You get the idea. It was very foundational and very fundamental. It's not species specific. It's not just me specific or us specific. So the point was, what's the symptom of a person having received the mercy of Lord Nityananda? And the symptom is ultimately that propensity in the broad, in that type of sense, has become tucca, or to such a point that it's basically not to be taken into consideration. So, so that's interesting. That's interesting. In other words, the symptom of having received the mercy of Lord Nityananda is not just becoming free from certain particular material desires, but of a general state of spiritual, achieving a general state of spiritual purity. Now, we can see about tomorrow, because my health is in a sort of slightly unstable state. At least I haven't been coughing. There's another very important aspect. Now we're talking about, we've titled the seminar Lessons from the Pastimes. It's not just pastimes of Lord Nityananda, but lessons, what we can learn. And one of the main things that we can learn from the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, we can learn about his mercy. Of course, anyway, we can learn about his mercy. It is said somewhere, I read it years ago, that demon who Lord Ram would kill, Lord Krishna might spare his life. He might not also, but in some cases he did. That demon who Lord Krishna would kill. Lord Chaitanya would spare his life. But that demon who Lord Chaitanya would kill, Lord Nityananda would not just spare his life, but accept him as one of his people, as an intimate, close associate, and give him Krishna Prem. And, what can you say? That's amazing. It's very amazing. And of course, as we know, Tar Sakshi Jagai Madai, I think that's Lochan Das Thakur. Who is it? It's Narottam. Tar Sakshi. Yeah. Dhanyavad. Hare Krishna. Very good. Very good. Right. Yeah, Papi, Tapi, whoever, even Jagai and Madai. Yeah, Jagai and Madai. We all know the story. I'm sure we all basically know the story inside out. At least the basic part of it. Up to the point of the deliverance. But it's a fact. Lord Chaitanya was about to kill them, particularly Madai, but Lord Nityananda intervened and saved the life of particularly Madai and Jagai also. But that was not the end of it. He gave them both Krishna Prema. So that's great. That's Lord Nityananda. Now, of course, so therefore, this point is made. Sometimes some special emphasis is given to Lord Nityananda in the sense that it may not be possible even to approach Lord Chaitanya without the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Let's not go too much into that sort of thing. It's not a simple subject. And one thing we should really understand is that Lord Nityananda is so merciful because he knows that's the mission of his Lord Chaitanya. And so that's his business. That's his business. Fulfill the mission of his Lord and Master. So that's there. That's there. That Lord Nityananda's mercy we can take, and it's true. It's a reflection of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. But still there's another little element in the picture which, adds a sort of a layer of subtlety to it. And this is brought out by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that Lord Chaitanya, he's Patitapavan. He's the deliverer of the most fallen, of course. And, that's how come we're here, particularly me. I tell you what, I will not write a biography because, it'll be too much. It'll just be too much for some people, a lot of people. But, it's a fact, actually. So the thing is that sometimes when the servant, dedicated, heartfelt servant, embraces the mission of his or her master to their heart, just absolutely, and makes it just the essence of their existence, they may then manifest the mission more than the master. Yeah. Because they have that mood of service. So that's what's said about Lord Nityananda, that he accepted the mission of Lord Chaitanya in a certain sense more strongly than Lord Chaitanya accepted his own mission. In a certain sense, we've got to understand the idea behind it. But it's really like that, and particularly Tao Sakshi, Jagai Madai. Yes, the evidence is Jagai and Madai. They were finished. It would have been good night, Badme Malenge. It would have really, that would have been it. But because Lord Nityananda had accepted Lord Chaitanya's mission so deeply, he even appealed to Lord Chaitanya there, that my Lord, you are Patitapavan, it is your mission. Yeah, it is your mission. So, please let me take them. Yeah, so therefore, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in drawing out this point, he makes the point that when you want to understand who is a person, what is a person, who are they, then you've got to understand what they are trying to do in their lives, who they are. What their desires are, what their goals are. That's what the person is. And that's what Lord Chaitanya is. He's Patitapavan. Yeah. So, let me conclude now. Just completing the point, that therefore it's said that from a certain perspective, you can say that Lord Nityananda is more one with Lord Chaitanya than Lord Chaitanya is one with himself. Which is, a bit esoteric, but you get the idea. It's like that. So anyway, there's a lot we can say about the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and if I'm up to it, we may try tomorrow sometime. But let me just close by reading one verse from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dalalira Gita, talking about Lord Nityananda, singing about Lord Nityananda. Ek bar dekle chake jao, gora bole nitai dain, sakala sambal. This is giving us a real glimpse into the mercy of Lord Nityananda. The lesson of how merciful Lord Nityananda is in terms of his dedication to Lord Chaitanya. The translation is, if Lord Nityananda sees only one time, ekbar dekle, ekbar, just one time, a tear in the eye, while a devotee chants the name Gora, then he gives everything to that person. Sakala sambal, sab. So there you go, devotees. Just some thoughts on the subject. Like I said, it's not a small subject. And I'm not feeling well, I'm afraid, so I'm not really up to so much. But, Hare Krishna. Gauranga! 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 Nityananda! 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 Srila Prabhupada ki jai.